Hey everybody, Bonehead from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl Formations Dark Elf Setups. We're looking at all the teams available in Blood Bowl 2020 right now, whether it's the core rulebook, the Teams of Legend PDF, or the expanded NAF teams Slan and Khorne, and we're really just looking at how to set up your guys ready for the kick, whether you're kicking off or receiving. We're kind of talking through some example formations. Really, the whole point of this is to highlight which players belong where and why. So if you are going to be running Dark Elves, or you're going to be playing against them, this video should give you some tips and tricks onto where you want your people and where best to counter them if you're playing against them. So when it comes to Dark Elves, they are one of the most forgiving teams when it comes to setting up. Basically, because you've got that Edge 2 on every player, whoever gets based, you've got a really good chance of being able to free them up if you need to. But they've also got that lineman armor of 9+. Now that armor 9+ means that whoever gets hit has got a pretty good chance to be able to stand back up the next turn. And when your lineman are movement 6 Edge 2+, that means that even if your opponent does get a good blitz in against one of your players, does get a 2-die block in against one of your players, they're probably not even going to be stunned, which means they are just going to be able to stand up on a 2+ and disengage. And that's what I mean by Dark Elves being the most forgiving, because actually with movement 6, with that Edge 2+, now I'm saying movement 6, the majority of the team as you develop will get movement 7+, and potentially dodge, not potentially, they're going to end up with dodge. The team becomes a fluid resource, a fluid team that can go anywhere and can survive being punched. So when you are setting up, the most important thing with Dark Elves is just to kind of decide how you want to weather that first storm. Okay, decide how you want the line of slaughter to play out for your team. Do you want your block guys on there? Are you playing a tougher team? Are you playing a more fragile team? Who is the bash and who is the dash? Dark Elves are such a great mid-range team. They're not the fastest, they're not the strongest, but they will be faster than many teams, and they will be much more agile than many teams, and they're going to have more block than most teams. So it's a really powerful team. This is why Dark Elves are such a competitive element. So when we're looking at the setups, we've got one here for you, which is the anchor defense. Now what we've got here is we've got 4 blitzers and 2 witch elves with 1 runner. Depending on how you feel about the runner, you can just ignore that and add a lineman. We've not got any assassins on the pitch here because we assume that's more of an advanced play. And if you are running 2 assassins instead of 2 blitzers, which I've done and is actually quite fun, then you're going to want them in the soft spot here. So what I said about kind of choosing your poison is, do you want your blockers on the line? Now the benefit of the blockers being on the line is that they have blocks, so they are actually less likely to get powed down to the ground. The downside is that there's going to be several of them, and they are probably going to be taking 2-die blocks. Now the more blocks you get taken against a player, the more likely it is to be taken out. So you kind of got that balancing act. And where your linemen do have an armor 9+, actually having these 3 players on the line ready to start taking it in the face, they're actually probably going to be able to stand back up, and your opponent is going to be able in this situation to take 1 blitz. Now I do like having a blitzer as a victim for this blitz. I know, it sounds risky. You've got 4 of them though. In most Dark Elf teams, you've got 4 blitzers. And having that block element means that they are going to blitz. They're going to be able to support players to get a good 2-die blitz, and they're going to be able to roll those 2 dice. But if you can make it so that they have got the worst success rate possible, then you can do it. The difference is between stacking your block guys on the line and stacking them ready to receive a blitz is 1 block versus 3, 4, 5 blocks. I'm happy to take 1 block against my armor 9+ block piece. I'm not happy to get passed along the line. So bear that in mind. But so the anchor defense here plays that game. This is a good defense for playing against a team that has got more strength than you, is going to be able to farm out blocks against the line of slaughter. And you're putting those 3 linemen in the center there to minimize the amount of blocks, to make it difficult to pass them along, to just minimize the amount of punching that they're going to get. Armor 9's great, unless you roll a lot of dice against it. So these 3 on the line, they're there to just take it for 1 turn and then disengage. And what that leaves you with is this fantastic secondary. You've got 2 blitzers on each wing, and where the anchor defense kind of hooks around, you've got a really protected, deep group of players here. They're going to go for the blitz. They're going to have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get a blitz on this guy, they're going to have to get like movement 8 to have a go at one of your Witch Elves. And even if they clear out this front line, because we've got this kind of sacrificial lineman in the middle and we've got these blitzers on the edge, there is no way to attack this second line of defensive players. So they are going to be able to swing a blitz against a blitzer. They may even have enough movement to come in here and tag some of these players. But then it's going to be your turn. And the great thing about Dark Elves is you've got all this block and you've got that Edge 2+ potential to get up, get away and support. So what you're going to be able to do is turn anybody that is based, anybody that is marked, you are probably going to be able to turn that into a 2-die block. And that's where Dark Elves have their edge, because you've got those 4 block pieces, and as your team develops, your Witch Elves are going to get block as well. So you're going to have 6 block players really quickly. Well, depending on how quickly you can afford the witches, at some point you're going to have 6 blodge players. Let's be honest about this. Wherever they go, they are going to be likely to receive a 2-die block back. That is good for you. And as Dark Elves have changed ever so slightly in Blood Bowl 2020, it's subtle, but your blitzers can just save up. They are going to get those SPP. And if you want Mighty Blow, if you want Guard, you are going to be able to get it. So I can actually see these blitzers going straight to dodge and then saving up for Mighty Blow, because it's just going to be a really great and mobile maneuverable removal suite, and it's quite impressive. So anchor defense, 3 guys on the line, blitzers on the edge there. One of them is going to get blitzed, but if there is a follow-up, you've got a blitzer in place, this guy swings round, 2-die block, or just this Witch Elf goes for a cheeky frenzy blitz and gets 2 dice. When it comes to defending with Dark Elves, you're okay to take that first punch. You're going to be playing against a tougher team in this situation, and then you want to start your screen game. Now, when it comes to Dark Elves are fantastic at that screen. So if there is any way to make a blitz, and you've got the movement there with that high movement, to plug through and start dividing your opponent and disengaging and creating that screen, you can split your opponent's team in half. And when you've got 6 block Edge 2+ pieces against 4 or 5 of their backfield players, you've got a really good opportunity to just hamper them, slow them down, and eventually break the serve. The cool thing about Dark Elves is if you've got Witch Elves, you can twist up that anchor defense a bit, and you can pull off the Witch Trap anchor. So same 3 guys on the line, same protected players in the middle, but what we can do here is take and make 2 little L sections on either side, just inside the line of scrimmage. And what that does is that forces any opponent to put a support and to block in, and they will not follow up. So what this sets up is this forces your opponent to disengage after their own blitz. Now, sometimes that can be negative because it means you're not going to get free roll to block, but what it does mean is that you're going to have basically your entire team disengaged. Edge 2+ is fantastic until you roll a 1. If you don't need to roll a 1, then you're basically just being given a free dodge roll. And by setting your witches up in this L formation with the blitzers here, wherever they head, if they put a dude here, they're not going to put a dude there, but they might do because it will tag this. This guy stands up. If they've disengaged, 2-die block, 2-die blitz, and then you're the one making those profitable attack actions. If they do attack you with a chunky boy or someone with frenzy and they have to follow up, that's very bad for them because they are going to be standing right there, and right there is next to a blocker and a frenzy player. And that is just going to be 3 2-die blocks against most players. That is a weathering storm of counterattack. And having those witches there is going to force your opponent to think, I do not wish to be in any of these squares at the end of my turn, because giving a free frenzy block with a team that's quite able to just jump a dude into a position to give that extra 2 dice is going to be absolutely massive, because a frenzy 1-die into a frenzy 2-die is massive, and it is going to, generally speaking, end in someone being in the ground with bits of them missing. So I like this one, the Witch Trap. If your opponent does attack and overcommits, you just get free rolled a ton of 2-die blocks. So the Anchor is a really great defense against a mid to heavy team, a team that your Dark Elf team is going to be playing the dash game against and having to use your agility. We've got the Chevron here. The Chevron is now got to be one of the most common archetypes to be used against an agility team in Blood Bowl. So in this situation, we are playing the Bash. Now there's a couple of things you can tweak, but it all basically functions around the fact that you are setting your guys up in this kind of arrow formation here. Okay, you've got that chevron look, which is why it's like that. And what this does is you protect your front line with 3 players, but it builds this wall of tackle zones that means that any dodgy team that's trying to run through basically only gets one avenue without having to make some blocks, and that avenue is straight down the middle. And if they run straight down the middle, first of all, they've got to clear these guys out. Now that is reasonable, I can see that happening. These guys are just linemen. Farm that guy off there, farm that guy off there, farm that guy off there, run down the middle. Fine. You're running into 2 witch elves, and even if you don't have witch elves, you're running into dark elves, and you've got blitzers on the edge here, and those blitzers have got movement 7, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if they can run straight down the throat and get beyond this point, they're basically going for a 1-turn touchdown. Use a 1-turn touchdown defense in that situation. But if you are playing against a team that cannot do the 1-turn touchdown, or is looking to be trying to score in 2-3 turns, Chevron defense here is going to be fantastic. They're going to have to clear out that center line if they want to break through the middle, or they're going to attack one of the sides. Now the sides here are fantastic because you've got witch elves. Even if you don't have witch elves, then you are in a really good defensible position. But if you have 1 or 2 witch elves, the Chevron defense is horrific for any opponent trying to build a side cage. It's awesome, and that's the great thing about dark elves, is they are a fast, agile, defensive team. I love dark elves. Right, so if they want to blitz down the side instead of going right down the middle of your entire team, they are going to have to position 1 dude there, and go for a cheeky blitz against this blitzer. If they do that, they're still going to have to make some dodges here, but it also means that they're going to end up with some players here, and standing next to the sideline with a team that can 2+ position anyone anywhere to then jump in with 2-die frenzy blocks who are assisted wherever they want to be. It's just really bad news, because even if they run through and set up a 3-gutter runner side cage, for example, that witch elf doesn't even need a support. You are going to be able to bring the runner down, bring the lineman down, bring the blitzer down, and then 2-die twice, surf a dude off, and then they're going to end up with 4 elves against their 2 gutters. Now, playing against gutters, playing a big gutter runner player here, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes they're just going to take that cheeky 2-die up blitz and then a cheeky 3+3+ dodge, and they're going to score anyway. But what this does mean is it forces those dice to land for them. They are rolling the dice here, and you have got such a flexibility situation here. Chevron is going to stop against a fast breakthrough, but what it does do also, and quietly so, is allow you a pretty decent spread defense. If the ball gets pinned back, you have got a massive amount of range here to start dividing that team. If they don't overcommit on your front line, and what they're going to do is probably just have a go at farming a couple of 2-die blocks on your line, because, you know, that's Blood Bowl, that's what we do. That doesn't matter so much, because your team can swoop round and start going for their backfield. And if you've got 3 linemen holding up 5 of their players on the front line, that means that you have got 8 players diving into 6 or 7 in their backfield. When you're Ag 2+ and movement 7 and armor 9+ and just awesome, that's going to be really good for you, because actually these blitzers are only 2 squares back. So that's going to be 1, 2, and then 5 squares into the opponent's pitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we flip the tables around, offense ball lands here, these blitzers, your blitzers, are going to be able to get all the way into this element of the field. If you can then flood 6 players across here behind their line of scrimmage formation, it's a bad situation. They're going to have to bootleg it around, and then if they're using linemen, if they're using blockers, they're not going to have particularly anybody there that's going to be able to go for a stretch play. So you can turn this Chevron defense into a very strong push to start dividing and conquering that team. And the other thing I guess to mention here is, on a cheeky blitz where you've got 2 blitzers on either side, you are going to be able to do whatever you want to do. You can punch through, and if you are trying to pressure, you can actually just move your guys up 1 square. Now, doing so does risk that cheeky 1 square move into base contact with you, and that's a risk you're going to have to choose whether or not you take or not. But I like 2 squares away. When you're movement 7, you're almost halfway up the pitch. A couple of go for it, you are over halfway into their side. And if you get a cheeky blitz result on a kickoff, D3, was it D3 or was it D6 +1 now? I'm playing too much 7s. You know, you're going to end up with potentially a very strong group of players ploughing halfway into their side of the pitch. Wherever that ball is going to go, you are going to be able to get a good punch and a good bit of pressure. All you want to do with Dark Elves is pressure the opponent. Let them mess up their dice rolls while you stand smug and pretty, ready for the SPP. And talking of SPP, we should probably think about what happens when you have to receive the ball as well. So, Dark Elves, 5-4-2 offense is just chef's kiss for this team. It maximizes everything that they do. And because it is very flexible, you can realistically just deploy however you want. And before we delve into this formation, I just want to say that the last defensive formation that we just saw, was it the Chevron? The Chevron is fine. If you want to play a delay offense, the Chevron will be absolutely fine to do. But we'll talk about that as part of a strategy with the 5-4-2 offense here. So there's the 5-4-2 and then there's the 5-4-1-1. The only bit of change here is where you deploy your receiving core. If you've got a 1 runner, 1 lineman, or just 2 linemen, that's absolutely fine. We are going to assume you are not looking to score any quicker than 4 or 5 turns here, because you don't have to most of the time with Dark Elves. So your receiving contingent can consist of just 1 dude. If it's 1 dude, it's this runner here, and the lineman comes up and deploys heavy one side or the other. Absolutely fantastic. If you're going to run 2 because you want good detain, you can go wide with the L and the R on the sides there, or you can stack them up. If you stack them up, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will be able to cover every single square with the front lineman, and then the runner can sweep up and grab the ball at the end of your turn. Or you just delay it. So the 5-4-2 gives you 2 massive elements here. You're going to win the line of scrimmage most of the time. You've got basically 5 guys deployed on the line, and you've got wide zones here that are going to be blitzers and witch elves, or linemen if you don't have those witch elves. Doesn't really matter so much. Now, the reason we've kind of gone for this curve here is because it defends against the counter blitz. If they roll blitz on a kickoff, all they're going to have to do is choose one of your guys to punch. If it is the witch elf is 1 square further back, which means that actually any supports are going to have to travel further, and any blitz opportunity is going to have to swing out wider, which actually gives them less movement to come in. To get here, the quickest way is straight down. That isn't going to happen. The second quickest way is going to go here. That is going to be up against a block piece. Yeah, alright, they can get a decent support in there, but it's a block piece that is actually covered by a couple of solid tackle zones. They're going to have to put that dude into there, and then it slows up their movement because they're going to have to zigzag in. If they want to come out and take the lower armoured piece, who's slightly less supported, they're going to have to go even further. So what you're doing is funneling them to the outside. Where's the outside? Right next to the sideline. Who loves sidelines? Witch elves. So again, you're kind of baiting them. It's like, you know what, go for that cheeky blitz on the sideline against my witch elf, because with jump up, frenzy, and eventually block, it's going to go really well in one way or another. So you protected against the defense, and what that does mean is that, quite frankly, if you're setting up with the 5-4-2, you can just sack off the first turn. If you want to, you can just completely sack it off. Don't recommend it, you're leaving too much equity on the table, but if you look at this setup, it doesn't matter. Like, wherever the ball's going, you are shielding it, okay? You've got that screen in place, and you can afford to farm out the clock. If all you do on your offensive opening series with the 5-4-2 is take a cheeky 2-die block up there, take a cheeky 2-die block up there, risky 2-die block up there, and disengage that front line, you can just stop right there. Alright, you're giving the initiative to your opponent, and you may want to take a blitz, but actually they are then going to have to come to you. You've had a few opening blocks, you've cost them movement, you're going to cost them activations, you may have caused some injuries, and you are very secure and very, very fast. And that's the beautiful thing about the witch elves and the blitzers there, is even where they are stood, they're 2 turns away from a touchdown. That blitzer and this blitzer is literally 2 turns away from a touchdown without even any go for it. So the witch elves are going to be fine, and you've got some guys on the front line there who are now disengaged as well. So the advantage here is you are starting from a really well protected place, because as Dark Elves you are the kings of the screen. So 5-4-2 gives you everything you want. Lineman can move down to protect the ball. The runner can swoop in and get it whenever the heck you're ready. Now, it's not a terrible thing to give it to a witch elf, but you've got that dodge element which protects you against the blitz, and when they want to maneuver to perhaps be the second support for the blitzer, that dodge is going to come in handy as well. Here you can win that line of scrimmage. You can choose a blitz if you want to with either of these players. It can be a supported frenzy blitz, or it can just be a precision strike with one of your blitzers, but you've got a protective bubble here that's going to help stall out those turns. You can honestly play this position against them for probably 2-3 turns without even collecting the ball. You're shortening the half and you're saving yourself time to defend. Although defending with Dark Elves is pretty fun because you got those Witch Elves. But when time is not on your side, you can use the heavy flank offense to score quickly. This team, do not misunderstand this team. We've got basically 4 to 6, 7 pieces here that are movement 7 edge 2+. 4 of them have got block. Those guys are going to get dodge too. 2 of them start with dodge. So this team is very fast. It is not as fast as some of the movement 8, movement 9 teams, but 2 turns is 2 turns, where it doesn't matter. The 1 turn with Dark Elves, it takes a lot of work. You've got Frenzy, so you can actually put it off a little bit easier, but you're not going to be doing any shenanigans like that. You have to be shooting for a 2-turn touchdown, but what you do have is a fantastic team of combat pieces here. So heavy flank offense plays the same for most teams. It's just when it comes to Dark Elves, you've got a much better way of doing it. You've got more movement and better agility. So deploying the run, we're going to assume you're going to be shooting right here. It depends on your opponent's defense, obviously, and it also kind of depends on the kick. So runner deep, okay, got that movement 7, but no combat skills. So that movement 7 is basically just a free rolled extra square for the collection piece. The runner tends to be a bit of a leader caddy. It can develop, you know, but actually most of the time it's going to be there just to get leader and to be a movement 7 piece in your backfield. And that is exactly what it's doing here. We've got 2 blitzers up front. We've got the other 2 blitzers and the 2 witch elves in this little score compartment here of 6 fantastic players. What you were going to do is you're going to stack these linemen on the line here. You're going to take a 2-die block away where you can and free up these players, and then you just need to blitz through and form some kind of cage. This runner can collect the ball here, this lineman can collect the ball here, this lineman can collect the ball here. Because you're movement 6, movement 7, and you've got that edge 2+, you've got a network. So even if the runner has to go all the way around here, you can farm that ball over. Now passing's got much worse for Dark Elves. So if you end up having the ball too far to go for a pass, having that runner deep gives you the best opportunity for it to be a 3 or 4+ pass. But ideally, and because of the way you've spaced your players out, movement 6 and movement 7 should give you enough coverage to grab the ball, hand it off to somebody who can then come up and get the pocket. Ideally, you want to get it to a witch elf because that dodge is going to be really useful. But I'll take any of these 6 players. And when it comes to the heavy flank, all you're going to be doing is trying to block away, create a hole, jump through, blitz, create a side cage or a screen, and secure that ball and get it up to them. You're looking to build a launch pad that's within 7 squares of the end zone, and with, you know, supported by 3 or 4 blitzers or witch elves, you are going to be well protected. And the great thing about this, and this is the kind of sneaky secret to Dark Elf success, is if it goes wrong, you've still got a ton of edge 2 movement 7 pieces. It's not like building a side cage with gutter runner and a few linemen. If the gutter goes down, well, you're stuck with a bunch of linemen. Actually, you're stuck with a bunch of scoring threats here. So if your primary ball carrier does go down, you are always going to be within a pickup, handoff, which, by the way, both of those are probably going to be 2+, and then straight into the end zone with a block or a blitz or 2. Anyway, it's all fun. Dark Elves are fantastic. They are not high octane. They are just egregious. They will fight you and they will win. They will race you and they will win. They will just disengage and wait for you to fight them. They will wait for you to roll skulls, you to roll 1s, and then they will just roll 2s all the way to victory. I love it. I'm glad the passing game got nerfed a little bit. It makes them feel ever so slightly slower. They're really not. But as you can see, they've got such a strong kind of offensive defense that they are a slow, fast team. And if you can master that, you are going to probably lose friends. But, you know, that's what Blood Bowl's about. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of Dark Elves in Blood Bowl 2020. I love them. And, you know, they need gutter runners. That's okay. Right, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much. And I'll be back with more Blood Bowl content soon. Thank you very much. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.